Have you ever wondered what games you should keep or you should lose? Find out here at Purge Reviews.
Arkadia is an abstract game where you have like a theme of building these castles up, but really the theme is just pace it on. If you're a castle building fan, don't go into this game expecting to build a castle, which I guess you will do, but it's done in an abstract way. This is a simple Euro abstract game where everything kind of makes sense. Now, the game does have an aspect where you're putting these parts out and things aren't exactly going to fit perfect, so there's an additional rule that you can put these workers out. Everything works for the goal of what you were trying to do in it. It's simple in nature, it's very easy to teach, and it also makes the game a little bit forgettable to me. Now, this is one of those games where I'm going to review it and say it's a little bit forgettable. It's not going to have this lasting effect. You're not going to play it and fall in love with it. Maybe some people will. And then somebody's going to pipe up and say, but I love this game. Sure, every game is going to have its fans in some regard, and it's going to like it. But from a mass appeal, and I'm not talking about mass market, I'm talking about like in this industry, this fandom that we're in, this is going to be something you're going to play. You're probably going to be like, wow, that was pretty neat. I enjoyed it. I had a great time. But I probably don't want to buy it. Or you're going to buy it because you had a great time, but you're going to have a hard time pulling it off the shelf. And that's where I kind of sit. Is this a game where if we were at a con or at a buddy's house, I sit in Arkadia? Sure, I would play it. I'd have a pretty good time. And I would then move on. And that's where I find myself not wanting to pull this off. Now, a little bit has to do with the theme. It's so boring. And why do we have so many games based on themes like this? And then you have the abstract nature of it. Okay, so it's a good rule set. That's about all that you have into it. But what you're doing, why you're doing, how it fits into doing, none of that really makes sense, and it pulls me out of the game. In regards, the game's a little simple. It doesn't have enough going on for my taste. If I'm playing an abstract or a lighter game or a gateway game or a filler game, it's going to be a little too long for that. But it's a solid game, and that's kind of where I would put it at. Probably a 5 or a 6. And I know in a lot of times when we rate games, we're like, 10 is fantastic, and a 5 is a game I hate. Not really. A 5 or a 6 is, to me, an average game. It's a game that's like just a little bit above. You know, it's not like your mass market garbage is probably 1, 2, or 3, or just the games that you love, which are probably 8, 9, 10. 7 would be very good, and a 5 or 6 will kind of fall into that, it's average. If you play it, you're probably going to like it, but not love it. I think that's where this one kind of sits for me. It has interesting decisions enough, but it's just not enough to keep me coming back, and I need that replayability, and abstracts don't always do that for me, and this one doesn't either. So very solid game, one that if you played you'd probably enjoy, but I wonder if it's going to have the pull to keep coming back to your table or not. For me, it's going to be a Purge. Here's Arkadia. You can see it's by Ravensburger. It's got a nice box on it that showcases a man looking at a map building a castle. You're going to have the screens here that you're going to have, and I'll have all of how a turn will be played out in the different languages. Over here is English. You have one of these for each of the players, and they're exactly the same. They're just the colors look a little bit different. You're going to have a board that really works more as a grid than anything. Here, you can see it's got a little bit over here that you'll be holding things. You have your castle in the middle, but it's really just a spreadsheet and a grid. It's nice. It's good quality. You're going to have the rule book, which we'll take a look at in a few minutes, and you're going to have a bunch of doodads that you're going to have in here. The tiles you're going to have, these will be the buildings. They're a little thin, but not bad. I mean, they're not overly thin. You're going to have these plastic pieces that you'll be playing with, that you'll be stacking, and these are really, really cool. These are probably the coolest feature in the game. You're going to have little miniatures in the different colors. These little guys, I mean, they're not the greatest miniatures. They're not like Simon or something. Your little cards that you'll be playing with just the seals and what you're building there. And then you're going to have the banners and the miniatures of different colors. These miniatures are really great for a Euro game. Maybe not by today's standards, but they're fine. And you'll have this. So the insert actually works pretty well for this one. Not too bad with little coins here and stuff. So overall, the components are very good for a Euro game, but definitely strikes this time period of what you're seeing. But there were some really nice touches in this time period. Like these castles are really nice. The miniatures were something you didn't see a whole lot at the time. So very, very good components. Here is the rule book. You can see a picture from the front of the box. You're going to have a bunch of different languages in here. So the box is going to be much bigger, or the book is going to be much bigger than it needs to be. Here you're going to see a picture of the components with the breakdown over here. You're going to have setup with a nice full color picture. And then as you go through, you have a how to play, which is really all you do on a turn right here. You're going to have examples with pictures down here, a few of these over here. And the rules are just, this front and back of this. That's it. And you got the end of the game and a little picture here if you want to do like the first setup, etc., to make it a little bit easier. So not too bad at all. You probably can read this in like 10, 15, 20 minutes and be up and playing. And because the game is abstract, you will need to refer to this quite a bit, I think, just because it doesn't flow thematically necessarily. Oh, the game is very elegant. But, the rule book, you need to have it open, and having a multi-language book is never, I'm not a big fan of that. So this is what you get. I'm going to keep this overview as simple as possible. So, like most of these games, you're going to shuffle up the deck of cards, and you're going to have some face up over here. This was very popular at the time, copying off Ticket to Ride. A lot of games did this. And you're going to have a hand of cards during your turn. And what you can do is you can play one of these cards to place a building out on. So let's say you wanted to play this card, and you'd put that into the discard pile, and then you would play that out. You could place this building out. It just has to be connected. So you couldn't place it over here. It has to be somehow connected to this. And then you would take whatever seal was on it, in this case the green one, and you would play it out on the board. You would take the seal and you would put it out here. Now, what's going to happen as the game progresses, that's the one thing you do. You can either play a card from here, or if you don't want to do that, you can play instead of playing a card and putting a building out, you can play out any number of workers that you want to. And the workers are kind of designed to kind of close up the area. Because as the game progresses, what will happen is you'll see these buildings and they will become enclosed. And if you're the one that encloses a building, then you get to take the seal off of it. And these seals can be used to attract points later in the game. And the way the seals are going to be gained is for every worker you have here, you're going to gain one of these seals. So if we had a different color here, and they also had a worker out, then in addition, they would receive a seal when it's closed off. So in this case, orange would receive seals, and so would purple. Closed it off would take one of these castle pieces with a certain color on it, and you could put them out on the building. Now this is going to go to 2 areas up, but you can't build the second level to the first level. It's completely built. So that would come out there. And then at any point, if you want to at the end of your turn, you can give up one of your banners, and you can sell off your seals. So then you could cash in your seals. So if I wanted to cash in the red seals, very easy. If this was the setup, I'd get 1, 2, 3 gold for each one of these seals I was going to give up. If I were to give up green, it would be 1 or 2 points that you would gold that you would receive, which would be your victory points. At the end of the game, once the castle has all been built, the player with the most gold is the winner of the game. Now, this is a very abstract game. So what you're doing is you're building these buildings around the board, and these seals will be put on them, and you're hoping to gain as many as possible. You want to get your workers around it also, and that's a different action that you can take on a turn in order to gain the seals. And then the seals will be turned in for gold, which is the victory points based on the structure that you're building during the game. So during the game, you might want to, if somebody has a lot of red, maybe you don't want to, or somebody has a lot of green, maybe you want to cover up the green and make red more powerful because maybe you have red, or you just want to block somebody else. So that's kind of how the game is going to go. As the city spirals, the city is being built, and you're scoring based on the castle in the middle. And that's Arkadia. Who should buy this game? This game is going to be for abstract lovers who like that. A little bit of a lighter abstract that has kind of a solid rule set. The theme doesn't matter. The colors don't matter. You just want a good streamlined rule set, and Arkadia is going to give that to you. You can play this with the kids, but I don't know if they're going to get excited over the theme or lack of theme and the colors that are used in the game. It's going to be more for, I think, adults who are wanting that little bit of a light abstract with a Euro feel to it. This will do it for you. Solid design, but one that's not going to stay in my collection. It's going to be a Purge.